Welcome to Beyond the Dragon, where we explore indie tabletop role-playing games and their design, to inspire you to play them or take what you like for your own creations. Hi there, my name's Oscar C. Tango.
And my name is Sun.
We're both tabletop game designers and professional game masters who love TTRPGs. Today we will be discussing Quest RPG. Quest is a D20 fantasy. There is a Cosmic Quest on the way, but as of the moment of recording, it's not out yet. Adventure game designed to be easy to learn and inclusive to people of all ages, genders, identities, and ancestries. It is designed around easy to understand rules and expressive role abilities, roles being what they call classes. Quest sets out to offer an adventure for everyone. We are specifically reviewing the free digital copy of the game, which is free, of course, and clocks in at around 155 pages. The current version of Quest 1.5 came out on September 19th, 2020. So, Sun, what did you think of Quest? Because I know you read it for the first time for the podcast recently.
Yes, I read it about a couple hours ago, maybe four. For me, Quest has a very relaxing and welcoming tone, both in its layout, art, and writing. It's a come sit down by the fire, let's explore a world and interact with some interesting characters type of game. You know, it's a simpler, looser game than those of the D&D ilk, designed to be more of an approachable game for beginners of the TTRPGs, and I think it succeeds in being that first step into the hobby. For those that are used to more of a structure may see its lightness as a weakness, but I think it uses that freedom to allow for a more fiction first or narrative game. You know, the mechanics get out of the way. The D20 is just really just you use a single D20 and it's used for combat and just risky situations. The rest seems to play out in a more freeform manner. Yeah, I enjoyed my read with Quest.
Nice. I also like Quest. I think it is a very, very good first entry into RPGs. And in fact, a lot of what I have to say will review it from the lens as Quest wanting to be your first tabletop RPG. And I mean, not to say that it doesn't offer things for veterans, but there's a lot of stuff I mentioned that's like specifically like this is great for someone who's super new to, running a game or playing a game. So you're going to hear me say that a lot. So do keep that in mind if you're like, this all seems like a lot of really like basics stuff to be covering. It also reveals how few games cover certain aspects of the basics. I will say there are some basics in Quest that in hindsight it's like, wow, I don't think I've ever seen that written anywhere.
Yeah, no, it definitely writes out a few things that are often assumed
Yeah,
in this hobby.
I will say, well, I mean, there's some stuff I have to say about hacking Quest. I like Quest a lot. I think it is a fantastic game. I don't know how I would hack it because like hacking implies that you're changing to do something. I could see writing a setting for Quest, but even then it's like, why bother? Quest has that baked in.
Yeah, when I was getting to that section, not to jump around too much, but I was thinking, how could I take this and use this more? It'd really just be designing more roles or more learning paths for those roles, I would think, and items and the like, and maybe some monster features to
That's
further
true.
customize some things. But yeah.
There are some actual. I do happen to have an expansion on monster features that was community created, and I think I might own a Quest hack game. I haven't read it all the way through, but I saw the dice mechanic, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Quest. Is this a Quest derivative? And I still don't know the answer to that. I didn't read any further. I was busy at the time. But that said, let's get into the engine. Quest's engine is really simple. You roll a d20, nothing modifies this roll, and on a 20, you succeed with some extra bonuses. An 11 to 19 is a normal success, you get what you want. A 6 to 10, you succeed, but you have to make a tough choice between one of two separate proposed setbacks. A 2 to 5 is a failure where you don't succeed and you get a setback, and a 1 is a failure with a really bad setback. And dice-wise, that's the game. That's Quest. You roll a d20 to see if you succeed. You roll a d20 when It would be fun to add some chance when there's a serious risk of failure, or whenever you're making a basic attack. A basic
Yep.
attack being I hit it with my sword, as opposed to I light my sword on fire and then send a fire tornado at him. Not that there's an ability that does that, but that's just to kind of show you the difference between abilities and I hit it with my sword.
Yeah.
But there is a bit more to Quest than that. Some fun note things that are mechanically interesting. All characters have 10 HP. You will never have more than 10 HP. You can have less, but only if you get hurt somehow. When you drop to 0 HP, you roll a D and then get hit at 0 HP. So not just reaching 0 HP, you have to be hit afterwards. You roll a D20, and if it's less than or equal to the damage you just took, you die. And if you roll above, you go unconscious and maybe, depending on the tone of the game and what the GM wants to do, take a permanent character injury. And it might even just be like a sexy scar. Let's be real here. But yeah. And then class-wise, we mentioned them before, there are player roles. They are like classes. They give sets of abilities that players can use. And to use these abilities that you get from roles, you spend something called an adventure point. Everyone starts out with 10. And then you get 5 at the end of a session just for being there, and you can also gain adventure points for roleplay, being funny. If the GM's like, yeah, you did something really cool right there, you roleplayed really well, you told a funny joke, whatever, here's an adventure point. So, yeah, and then the abilities themselves come in trees based on a theme. So, for instance, the Ranger has the Friend tree, and it has stuff like Speak with Animals, and then Animal Companion, and you have to learn abilities in a tree in order, but you can start but you can change what tree you're working on because you get a new ability at the end of every session, along with your 5 ability points. So, mechanically, that is Quest.
Yep. And just for those wanting to know, it's like, wait, what about the fighting bit? If you're maybe ambushed, then the enemies go, but it's just a turn-based thing. The player's team will go, and then the enemies will go. And the GM or the guide will determine the order. It's like, oh, the fighter bashed down the door, then I think the fighter should go, and then the rogue, and then... So it's team-based, but the guide is guiding the initiative.
Yeah, I believe Quest explicitly says whatever the guide thinks makes the most sense.
Yeah, fiction first.
Mm-hmm. Fiction first. And then, they also have, Quest does have range bands that are fairly simple. You can touch it, you can walk over to it and then touch it, you can shoot it, and you can't shoot it.
Yep.
Those are your range bands. And they show a nice little capybara warthog stealing some bread and getting bonked for it.
Yes. But yeah, no, that is Quest. So... unless you have something else to say.
No, I mean, like, that's the engine. There's not a lot to say about the engine, because that's not where Quest... Well, no. How do I rephrase this? That is not where Quest's big, like, focus lies. I will... Like, there are, specific mechanics about, like, oh, you do a thing and it does this. But that's ability-focused, and it's not... And you're still... That's still in the basis of spend an adventure point to cause this effect. So engine-wise, I don't have anything more to say. I now just have our news segment. We're still doing this so far. The game, things that thematically and mechanically go together well. Unless you have something to say.
No, I'm ready to jump right in.
All right, what have you got? Give me a good one.
So, immediately, we're just talking about how Quest is like beginner friendly, eases you in, guides you through everything, and I think the easiest way to start that is the presentation of Quest. So there's going to be a couple things in here that aren't like related to mechanics, and because we kind of like went over the mechanics, but presenting an easy to read book. It's a nice landscape book, 3 columns most of the time. It definitely elicits more of I think a picture story book in more of like a...
I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought that.
Yeah. And the contents page, I really like how they did the contents page. It's 4 columns, and above each of the columns it gives a small little breakdown of what everything in that column is about. It's like, we're going to get you sorted out on just, introducing you to the game. And then the second column's like, now we're going to, create your cool character. And then the third part is, now we're going to, go into the details a little bit more and all that stuff. And then the fourth one's like, and this is for the guide. It feels nice to read, and it feels very friendly and approachable. And then when you get to the chapters, at the start of each chapter, it gives you a reading time estimate. It's like, hey, this is how long it might take to roughly read this chapter. Eliciting the things that I see on articles. It's like, oh yeah, 4-minute reading time. This one's like, oh yeah, this chapter, 10 to 20-minute reading time. It's like, okay, I'll go do this and maybe go do something else. It's like, I know how much work, you could say, I've got ahead of me just for this chapter. And I think that all of that combined really helps provide a nice approachable way. Oh, and yes, and the white space. A good amount of white space is used, so it's not information dense or heavy.
No, I agree, and I actually, 155 pages is a lot for a kid to read in one setting, but it is I agree with the picture book kind of layout. It's easy to read, it's well-spaced and well-sized. If something doesn't need more focus on that page, they won't start the next section. They'll just go to the next page and either put in some cool artwork or just leave it blank. Which means that, you see, when I opened Quest and I saw 155 pages, the first time I read it, I was like, okay, here we go. And then I started scrolling, and I had finished the book in an hour, and I was like, what the fuck, that was easy.
And we should mention, of those 155 pages, one section is for the guide. So for players, that's even easier. And then for the third section, that is just the roles and the abilities that come with each of the roles. That takes up a majority of that second half of the book.
Yeah, I think that's about 50 or 70 pages or something crazy like that. And then they're also at the end of the book. I know for a fact of 20 pages of items. So I mean, it really is a very, in terms of actual stuff you need to read, short book, unless you really want to go through all of the
every
roles.
single thing. Yeah.
So no, I agree with you on layout. Another thing I touched on it again. So from the lens of Quest wants to be the first RPG you might ever play, because it's free, and it straight up has a thing where it's like, if you're an educator who wants to try using Quest, contact us and we'll give you a free digital copy to share with your class or something. Quest has one of the best how to play sections I have ever read. Now, so it explains the concept of a scene. It's like, okay, so the guide will set the scene. What is the scene? Oh, it's a, you set it even tells you GMs, here's how you make a scene. You give the details of where you are. You give some details about oh, what's the weather, what's the smell. It's, a general location where your characters are and things are happening. And then it's players, here's what you can do in a scene. You can ask questions, you can talk to NPCs, you can attack something, talk to your guide and say what your character wants to do. It has all, that is a great, just how to interact with a tabletop RPG section. It says this isn't exhaustive, but here's the general idea. And I've had a couple of people who are like, yeah, this is my first time playing D&D. I bought the beginner box 5 years ago. And so it's okay, so what do I do now that I'm here? And I'm like, well, what does your character want to do? And Quest in the book says, here's how you play. And it's one of the first sections. You don't have to read about all that fucking character nonsense before you learn how to interact with the game in its most basic way.
And something I want to add on to that is what you just said, the general things you could do: investigate / question, describe feelings / thoughts, talk to PCs, NPCs, attack, special ability. Not only is that a nice, great guide, but also because of the very light system, that is also mechanically what you would be doing in every scene as well. That is literally your buttons you press as well.
I mean, let's
not
be
even
real.
Just a guide.
Talking to your guide and describing what your character would do is beyond anything the main mechanic of a TTRPG. like
And go ahead.
what do you do? I do this. That's the mechanic. Where am I? You are here. I do this. That's TTRPGs in a nutshell. Everything else is just dice.
Mhm. But I really like how like it really dot points. It's like, hey, just go back to these, just do these, and it brings up the, especially in some of the other things that we'll mention, describing your feelings, describing your thoughts, like outwards in a narrative sense. This is definitely a story, narrative game. It's encouraging the players to actually talk out those thoughts.
Yeah, no, it is. And then Quest also has some really other good things in terms of like how to play. It has a general rules for the guide about like be fair, some general rules for players about be respectful, try to have your goals aligned, don't be evil unless everyone wants to be evil.
Hmm.
Quest doesn't shy away from the option of adult themes despite having a very storybook presentation, but it does have good safety tools from the start, which is good, and it gives, it says, here's how you can play at a table, here's how you need to cooperate with the other people at the table. It lays that out in ways that a lot of player books haven't ever done before. And also, GM-wise, it has pretty much like the same kind of thing. It has like, here's starting tools for, here's adventure hooks. Here's how you set up like a world, a region, a town, NPCs. We mention these tables kind of offhandedly, but again, Quest wants to be your first RPG, and I've heard the joke before, oh, you want to play TNT, but none of you have played before? Well, someone has the GM, and it's basically the blind leading the blind, and Quest is like, no. Here is a massive list of tools, and just a thing like, here's how you do it. Go through here, and then as you get used to it, you'll come up with your own ideas and do that.
And also, like, while you say massive list of tools, it's also not overwhelming.
No.
Especially with how it's written and all that. It's like, hey, just do these simple steps, and be flexible with what you're doing, and you'll be okay. And we have more guidance for you.
Yes.
So another thing that I wanted to offer that you mentioned briefly was safety guidelines or safety tools. Quest introduces safety tools in a very beginner-friendly way as well, because those that are aware of safety tools will know of lines and veils and the X card. But explaining that or just throwing those terms out to a new person is going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But Quest explains these terms, since Quest uses these three tools as their default, in a very natural language way, and talks about boundaries. For everyone to have fun, there needs to be player safety, and a way to create boundaries and make sure there's things that won't be in coming up in play, things that are out of bounds / lines, things that are off camera, veils. And then for anything that comes up in the game that's like, oh, this is new, or let's put a pause on this and let's discuss, the X card, stop sign. Very clear, natural language for people being first introduced to safety tools. I really like that. And afterwards, it tells of additional resources for you to research more on player safety tools. You can check out the TTRPG safety toolkit that a lot of games now reference. So, yes, love this.
Yeah, no, it is great. It's always great to see a game provide safety tools for the players. And Quest isn't even like a horror game, and its art, how do I put this? Quest looks and presents itself kind of like, child friendly, but Quest is like, look, we aren't going to tell you what to play with our game. If you want to run Berserk in Quest, I'm not sure how you would do that, but fucking go for it, homie. Do your best. We believe in you, says Quest. So safety tools are good.
Yeah. What about you? Well, what is an offering from you?
Uh, Character creation is, I think, honestly, it's one of the most interesting I've ever seen. So, Quest's character creation. Quest is a statless game. I feel like that's something to mention because we said like, oh, you roll a d20, no modifiers. There are no stats in Quest. Nothing about it. Not at all. Not a slightest
Well,
thing.
the only numbers that you have to worry about is your HP and your adventure points, and
HP and
then the
AP.
damage you do. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So, and I mean, damage is just negative HP, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anti-life. Anyways, but so character creation winds up being one of the most full and open-ended processes I've seen yet. So Quest doesn't have the concept of ancestries or species. It has a worksheet. It's like, here's my name, here's how I identify, here's how I look, which is like, what is my body, what is a feature, and what is my vibe. Here's how I dress. Here's where I come from. Here's what I believe, and here are some personal vulnerabilities about me.
Yeah,
And then you pick a
it's
role.
a very nice. Yeah, it's a very nice questionnaire. I really enjoy it.
And
And this is the one
yeah.
thing that I remember seeing about quests, a couple years back when I first heard about it.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a character that feels whole without needing a super long or convoluted backstory. Although you can have one, because you can even, there's something in the GM section called quirks, where it's like, oh, give someone, like, a single, like, ability from another role, because, like, say the fighter used to be a ranger, before they, like, changed their profession, and you can do that if you want to, and if not, don't worry about it, so that's a thing. But yeah, so I think it's one of those situations where your character is really truly yours because you define what you are and where you come from.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. And just to give an example, I made a character just through with the questionnaire. Happy to go through it if you had something else to say.
Oh no, please go through your I'm curious because I actually didn't fill out the character worksheet. I just read about it and was like, "Oh, that's neat." Moving on.
Hmm. I did for the character and the setting profile, which is basically like for the guide, a way to quickly create a world.
Mhm.
But this is the character that I just quickly fashioned up. Hello, my name is Cedric, they, them. I'm 25 years old and stand 1.5 meters tall. I'm the party's doctor. When people see me, they first notice my speckled complexion, skeptical eyes, and sleepy mood. I wear a quilted jacket and move with apprehension. I'm from a roadside inn where my people are known for their commercial success. I believe in pragmatism, but my wrathful side can get in my way. I dream of meeting the Grim Reaper. And that is just using just the pre-built prompts in the book.
Yeah.
Just quickly scanning about and it's like, oh, yeah, no. Now I've got a questionnaire. Now I can delve deeper into what is Cedric? Why do they dream of meeting the Grim Reaper?
Yeah, and that's a thing. And like, is the Grim Reaper a metaphorical thing, or do you actually want to meet someone who is like the Grim Reaper and be like, "Can I have your autograph?"
Maybe it's connected to me being a doctor, and a doctor has control over life and death. So that could be something.
Boy, howdy, does the Doctor in Quest have control over life and death?
Oh, yes, indeed. But no, I really enjoy this questionnaire, and I especially like the style prompt and the what do I call my home prompt,
Mhm.
because I think that really helps connect yourself to the character and also connect yourself to the world. Because a lot of time you don't really have, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just from a town, really. No, this one specifies like, are you from a town? Are you from somewhere else? And what is this town known for? What is this place known for? It's a little bit more, but it doesn't go too deep. It provides just enough that you can start spinning your own wheels on what all this means.
Yeah, it's really great. It really, because Cedric really is your character more than anything.
Um, then for me, then I will bring up. I'm going to go back to the dice mechanic.
Ah, yes.
So, one of the If you roll a 6 or a 10, tough choice. Your success with a cost. The guide gives the player a choice between two setbacks. I really like this because I think this leans back into the narrative, allowing the players to control the narrative a little bit and help the fiction go along. And the guide giving two options, isn't just like a here's a punishment. It puts a little bit of power into the player character.
No,
And
agreed.
yeah, I think it makes failure still fun, even though you still succeed. You get to choose: do I break an item, or do I, take 4 damage?
You know what it reminds me of?
Mhm.
Open Legends fail but succeed.
Yeah, no, it definitely goes within that. It's the succeed with a cost situation. Well, failing forward.
Yes, failing forward. You fail, but you choose to move the story forward, doing what you wanted to do, but now you're in a bad spot.
Yeah,
Which we're not
and
going to
I
go
think that
deeper
works.
into what Open Legends does with that, because this is not an Open Legends review.
No, but I think that works really well with this story narrative freeform type of game.
It does, yeah, no, especially with something like, you can do that with when you get hit or when you're opening a door. It's great. Fail forward
Yeah.
is really good, especially with games that are like roll once.
Yes, and this game specifies roll once for a situation, for a risky situation. You're not rolling multiple times. Roll once. And something that I did want to add in was, you're rolling d20 no modifiers, so it's going to be swinging, but 75% of the time you will succeed. 25% of that is with a setback, but it's always geared towards success whenever you roll. So that should lend itself to more of that, constantly pushing the story along type of situation. And half the time, there's going to be setbacks. And then 25% of the time, it's a setback with a success. So I think that's a nice range of outcomes.
It is a good range of outcomes. The other
What
thing,
about you?
for me, we touched on it briefly. There is an NPC creator. There are two levels to the NPC creator. There's a thing that's like, think about who your NPC is and how they matter in the fiction. And then there's the here's something with stats and like abilities that you need to know. NPC creator. And so this is the NPC creator I really want to talk about. Although I will say the level of detail on the first one I mentioned about like, oh, who is your NPC and how do they focus in the fiction and like how to build that is something I haven't actually seen touched on this heavily since I read Apocalypse World Engine. Please keep in mind for anyone who's read other Powered by the Apocalypse games that are shouting other games do that. I've never read anything but Apocalypse World Engine 2nd Edition, so it's my ignorance, not that I'm choosing to ignore something.
Hmm.
But in terms of the enemy NPC creator, it has a health value, a damage value, and then you can then slap special effects of a wide variety of type onto your NPCs to make them really interesting. So you could make like a commoner librarian and then just slap the intangible tag onto them, and it's like, yeah, they're just fucking ghost librarians. Don't worry about it. Don't ask questions that are above your pay grade, and just pay your library bills, or else they will haunt you.
Indeed, yeah, and it's very simple. You have 3 stat blocks: commoners, minions, and bosses. So the guide is never tossing up. It's like, oh, what should I throw? And the HP values are, commoners 2, minions 4, and bosses 10. And the fact that if you're using a weapon or you're at least specialized in unarmed attacks, you're doing 2 damage. So commoners are going to go out in 1 hit. They're meant to just go out in 1 hit. Minions will take 2 hits, so probably go down if 2 teammates are facing the same person. And bosses, they will last at least probably 2 rounds. So yeah, you get a very fairly clear way of understanding how long creatures will probably last just from the base stat blocks
Yeah, and
and the fact that damage values are flat.
yeah, and I mean, so are player health values. So the amount of threat an enemy provides is always the same.
Yeah.
You don't really have to worry about it being too bad. So, I mean, this is really, really handy stuff. And I know for a fact there are monster manuals for Quest out there that are made by the community. And if you pay for Quest, there might be one. I don't remember. I haven't looked at what the paid version of Quest offers in a few months. I happen to have one of the Quest monster manuals, specifically the 5e SRD conversion to Quest.
I've seen that. I did not. I might have picked that up. I just have not added it to my proper organization. But yeah,
I got it from one of the itch bundles. I don't remember which of the two I got it from.
I see.
But yeah, no. So I mean, like, it again, just in the focus of you can really just focus on the fiction and be like wolves, and then you don't have to be like, okay, what's a wolf? You're like, all right, wolves, commoners, fight these wolves.
And it specifically states what commoners are. They're the background characters. They're the extras, if you think of it in a movie, with this, narrative type of game. Minions are going to be, the side villains, the ones underneath the big bad, which will be the boss. My last thing that I wanted to offer was money, buying stuff, trading. Don't worry about that. Basic goods are things that you can acquire without the need of really paying for them, or they're super inexpensive. There is no money. Modest meal, average dwelling, room and board at inns, common clothes, mundane items, etc. You can just get them if you're in town or, in any, appropriate way. You can just get them. That's fine. But for valuable items, that's when you need to consider trading. No money, this is a barter system. You just have to trade an item, a favor, a promise, labor, or something valuable to get that valuable item. I really like that. I like that. It just says don't bother about coinage, and I think that aligns itself with how many people play D&D based games. They either start with coins or they just really don't worry about it too much, or people get way too much gold that there is no point. Why not just go straight barter system, especially since Quest follows itself within the Knave like of just having 12 item slots. So you're just worrying about what items that you carry and if you can trade those for some better items or more special items. I really like it, and I definitely would use this, the barter system.
Yeah, no, agreed. And then for me, my very last one, there are some advanced rules for mixing or removing roles altogether for free character building. I really, really, really like this. Because, Quest already is like, what is your character? Well, if you want to be like a big, scaly brute, define what that is and where you come from and, how that be. It lets you perfectly define your character, and then it gives you general roles for like an idea of like, oh, you want to be a fighter? Oh, well, you can be a tactician, you can be a duelist, you can be like a brawler. And then it says, but hey, you want to go ahead and take that away and just let people build characters freely? You still got to follow the go along a tree one at a time rule. But I'm not here to tell you what to do. Gotta love that. On to criticisms.
Yeah.
Criticize this game.
So one thing, I did not go fully into every role's abilities. I scrolled through. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But the first role is the fighter, and the first ability path is the dueling ability path. And I was just going through them and say, oh, okay, wild attack sounds cool, blah, blah, blah. Duel, the capstone, the fifth ability that you get from investing, 5 ability points, is the duel ability. You compel a nearby creature that you fight in single combat. If you have the quest core deck, take a basic attack, wild attack, overpower, and disarm cards. If you don't have the deck, just assign these abilities for just a standard deck of cards. But basically, it's a guessing card game of triplets. Choose your 3 cards, place them face down on the table, keep it secret from the guide, and then the guide must guess the identity of each card. You reveal them, and if the guide guesses correctly, that card fails. But if they guess incorrectly, that card/ability can be used with no adventure point cost, and it is automatically successful. And if the guide guesses all 3 correctly, then the foe can immediately counterattack and attack you. But if they guess wrong entirely, then you may extend the duel for another 3 rounds. For another round. I like this, but also it's a little funky.
Yeah.
Because it's like a huge subsystem for Quest.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it
it's
lets
not that huge, but yeah.
I guess it lets your fighter be like, oh, there's a boss and a number of minions. Well, fuck it. I'm gonna duel the boss. Don't worry about the rest of combat. I'll get this. But also, Quest says, let your friends speak. And this is a one-on-one subsystem. So, yeah, I agree. It's a little bit wild.
I like it. I honestly like it. And I think it definitely plays into the dueling nature of the thing. Like, it's a one-on-one. And yeah, no, what you said with the boss, definitely. It's like, hey, don't worry, guys. I will face the boss. Deal with everything else. I'll do it. It's like, yeah, no worries. And I like it, but it is still a little funky.
You know what? I bet you it takes longer to read than it does to complete a round of duel.
Oh, no, definitely. Just slap 3 cards down, and then the guy just goes, yep, that's an attack, that's a counterattack, and that's a disarm. Nope. It's like, shit. And then just do them all. Yeah, it's very quick, but it still feels a bit funky.
It is. No, I agree. It is. I was reading that, and I'm like, this is a really weird ability to end this set of powers on.
If anything, I feel like that card subsystem would make sense in the tactics section because it feels kind of more tactical. But I guess also dueling. Yeah, I don't know. It just feels funky.
The ability.
That's my criticism.
No, it does feel funky. I don't have any criticisms about Quest, really. I really like it as is, but I did something similar to you where I didn't really read all of the abilities.
Because there's a lot. There's a lot to read through.
There is a lot, and, it's not like any of them is, to my knowledge, I doubt there's something in there that's like, this completely ruins the game of Quest, because, honestly, you could just ignore that ability, so... Don't worry about it. And that's the thing, like, if you think Duel is dumb bullshit, you can just not take Duel. It's the capstone ability, it's the last one. Nothing stops you from starting on another tree instead.
Yes, that is true.
But I will say, like, it is in the... I realize why you say, like, tactics, but it is in the Duel tree. And giving duel, like, actually, like, the ability to one-on-one duel someone as a special ability, its own system, rather than just, he only attacks you, and you can only attack him, is, I think, like, sensible. It makes duels feel special. You're calling somebody out. It gives that, I will face you myself, fiend vibe. So... On the one hand, I agree, kind of wonky, but on the other hand, the only thing that I've ever seen that would possibly give duels this much attention is the duel supplement for 5 Torches Deep, but I've never read the duel supplement, so I have no idea. The duel supplement could use the same mechanics, and I wouldn't know, because I haven't read the book.
I cannot remember exactly, but it's definitely a focus, and it's kind of like a feign type of thing, but it's not a 3-card system.
Oh, that's
I'm pretty sure it's just a...
That would have been funny.
Yeah, it's basically, you hide what your intent is, and then you both go, and then...
So it's the same system with different mechanics. It's about, like, feinting what you're gonna do, and then doing a different thing.
Yeah, and if you've both guarded 3 times, the referee just asks you, "Hey, are you actually dueling?" Or yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, it's funky, but it definitely makes the idea of dueling work.
Anyway,
If
so
there
that's
was
all I
more
have.
abilities like that, then I would be less
Oh, true.
weirded out. But I just check. I control F for deck, and could not find anything else within the ability section. So
Okay. Uh,
yeah,
you know what? I do have one criticism. It's not even a criticism. It's just not to my personal taste. I hate card
yep.
peripherals in my TTRPGs.
You hate what?
I hate card peripherals. I hate
Ah, okay.
systems that involve decks of cards in my TTRPGs. I don't like the deck
I
of many things. I don't like the fucking tarot cards that are off-brand and Strahd. I don't like this very much.
Fair enough. For me, I really enjoy card peripherals, and if they're done in a interesting way, or a decent way, and at least in this sense, the cards also play in to the quest's beginner like nature, because quest does the PDFs give you printable cards for every single ability and
Yeah.
some reference rules.
In fact, I'm pretty sure that
Uh,
comes with the free book. Let me double check my
yes,
files.
well, we have that. We've got the printable deck of cards.
So there's no excuse not to have the Quest core deck. Unless you're just like me
So
and you hate cards.
yes, and also, actually, I'll get on to that later. I think. Actually, no,
Uh,
I'll talk about it now.
yeah, go for it, man. I
Um,
don't have any criticisms if you
so
want to soak up some time.
Quest does talk about the intent of Quest is to play in person around a table type of situation. And so, yes, the card system definitely feeds into that. But also, something that I want to mention that um, may be a little difficult for new people, but also people with some sociable troubles. You know, I would connect this to I will never be the bard because I'm supposed to come up with songs. Quest has that situation in some things where an ability tells you to, say a quote type of
Oh,
situation to have the ability come out.
I
But Quest
forgot
also
about that
does,
mechanic.
yes, and that does come up a decent amount in the abilities.
I think the Invoker has the
And
worst of it.
I've not checked Invoker, but that does make sense. And for some people, that's going to be like, oh, I don't know if I can get into that yet, and that's fair enough. Quest says, don't worry. Say if you can, like, you can just narrate that your player character is doing that. That's fine. But also, it can also be seen as a strength of putting the emphasis on the players to narrate these actions, and yeah, in a more theatrical theater type of way, playing out these characters. So, a strength and a negative, I'll definitely say.
Yeah, it very much, because I will say games where you have people who are like, I'm doing this and it's very in character. Those are exciting moments that are very memorable, as opposed to I do this, where you just narrate what your character does. But I also understand that like bards don't have to sit there and come up with wacky insults and songs for every little fucking thing they do, because if you're doing a lot of bard shit, that can get exhausting fast. And I mean on the player who's doing it, because it's like if you have to come up with like 10 things every round, like, every combat, and you're doing like 6 combats today, you're like, fuck!
Hmm. And of course, it's not a hard line rule, but yes, it is built into a lot of abilities.
So,
And they
yeah.
encourage you to pick quotes from books, your favorite books and movies, and like, or whatever they're hoping you to do. But yeah, Um, I do have another criticism. Like, I'm just this is going to be like a default criticism. Just nowadays,
Mm.
no, adventure scenario example for the guide.
Uh,
Just pop it in
True.
the back, have, dot points or an actual just played out example
To be
would be
fair,
always really nice.
we have the free version, which I know for a fact is missing like a massive chunk of items and other things. In the paid version of the digital book, there might be one. We have no idea.
I see.
We don't
Well,
know.
in the free version, I'll state that is a criticism I have.
Because I do know they have an adventure on the website. I was looking at
Well,
it briefly.
I see.
So, I
Well,
mean, it's
yeah.
there.
Well, it is there, but I guess in this case, since we are looking at the free book, as a criticism of the free book, then I'll say.
Yeah.
Um, and then also kind of in line, or that it made me go, oh, okay, but also I understand why. The book states, ignore calling out the mechanics of you deal four damage. No, no, no. It wants you to only speak within the fiction. You've slashed at this creature type of situation. Not you've done a lot of damage, you deal four damage. No. It the intent is to not say that stuff for the guide. And it's like hide these numbers, hide these mechanics. And for me personally, I like being a little bit more clear and open with what is going on with the game. And to me, the game does include those numbers. So I do like, the clairvoyance. It's like, yeah, no, this is what is occurring. But us as players, we understand that as the meta and, the gritty mechanics and the numbers, but we can still be within the fiction as well. But this game is trying to introduce players and in a story-based game, and I can see this being one way to keep that going. As it states, like let your players stay within the fiction. So that's something that made me go, oh, okay, interesting.
I've heard I've heard takes on both ends of this, most commonly with Powered by the Apocalypse, where a lot of derivatives of Apocalypse World Engine itself will be like, don't say the move name. Um, because Apocalypse World Engine was like, you don't say that you're doing a move, you do a move. And then your GM tells you if you have to roll. Just do an action in the fiction. If you need to roll, the GM will tell you.
Hmm.
I I'm inclined to agree with you somewhat. Um, in the sense that, like, if something's going wrong, the mechanics not being divulged will make it so that people can't be like check that you're being fair, or that
Hmm.
like you may have made a horrible mistake.
And this gets into the conversation about role playing games and people talking about, well, it's still a game. I like playing with the game bit and having the role play, and people saying, well, the role play is my game, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, so
And
that was my last thing that I had in
uh,
the quirks and criticisms.
going back slightly, I decided to look a little bit further. People may have heard me clicking clacking in the background. So
Yep.
the adventure for Quest is free entirely. It's on their website.
Ah, interesting that
In
did
fact,
not
it's
come within the.
only on their website. Yeah, there's not like a download button. I don't know
I
why.
see.
So yeah, you gotta. I mean, for Quest, a game meant to be played around a table, you gotta go to the website to read this thing.
Interesting. Huh. Well, I appreciate that it's on there, but yeah, that definitely something that I feel like should be packaged with the free bundle.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to disagree because I didn't even know to look for it until I was looking for information on when Quest was published. Which, by the way, I couldn't find when the first version of Quest came out, which is why I just talked about the 1.5 thing.
Yep.
They didn't have a thing with like published on this date, unfortunately for me. unlike
Hmm.
Itch and Drive Through, which are like published on this day.
But no, that's all my criticism of quirks.
In that case, standouts.
First thing, when I was just reading, I was going, huh, this feels calming to read. I like this because it was talking about it's like what you need, what to bring. It's like a nice quiet space, a table, AD20, an open mind. It's like I'm calm now. Flip the page, and I see a picture of a bear getting their frozen face caved in. Nice.
And as a
uh,
Russian, I felt calm immediately.
like it's like okay, slight tone shift there, but still done in the cutesy picture book art style. It's like okay, I'm still calm, but I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, he says it sounds gory. It's not. I didn't realize it was getting its frozen face smashed in. I thought it was getting bonked with a magic hammer. Could have
Well,
been either.
both ways. Yep. What about you?
Doctor gets necromancy. Let's fucking go. Command over life and death, bitch.
Yeah,
My
definitely,
patients
and
don't
like
die. They come back as the
oh,
undead.
something in the doctor thing. I really like the heal ability, specifically the one where, yes, heal exactly. You embrace a creature with a caring touch, restoring all their hit points. After a short time, the creature is relieved of any short-term appearance. But if you are using heal on another member of the party, they may contribute any amount of their adventure points to help pay for the spell. So it's like let me share in that healing type of thing. But also the way it's written and the vibe that I'm getting as I read this, it's a healing hug. It's like come here, let me hug you.
Yeah, and I mean, Quest's HP is, I believe, it states like you can't get seriously harmed until you're out of HP. So it's kind of implied to be like luck before the blade touches you proper.
Mm,
Since you can only really get hurt at 0.
yeah. Um, For me, running the game section, the 3 C's for the guides. Just you need to remember clues to set up a scene, story prompts, challenges to put something in the way of what they want or where they're going, consequences, rewards, and setbacks drives the story forward and creates new situations. And then there's the breakdown of all three of those. I
Yeah,
really like that. That
it's.
like just those three is definitely something that I can be like, yep, I can write that down and I can just use that for anything, not just Quest.
I was not kidding when I said that this game had one of the most thorough how to GM and how to play sections possible.
What about you?
Actually, I wrote down the no money thing for my standouts. I like that as a detail.
Hmm. Well, then speaking of items, and for me, I had 3 items that kind of stood out to me without going far into it. These are just the uncommon ones, but the kiln gauze fixes a broken metal weapon. This goes in line with the fact that your weapons can break. This means now there's a on-off durability system. If your weapon's broken, it's broken. But if you have some kiln gauze, you can fix it. So especially for the fighter that might take the wild attack fighter ability, where there's a high chance of you breaking your item, maybe you want to pack a couple of these in your 12 slots of inventory.
Yeah, you probably want a few of them.
uh, the second one was discretion, a sheath that when you sheath a weapon, it makes the weapon invisible, looking like you don't have a weapon sheathed, put in your sheath. I thought that was just neat. And then my third one item definitely goes back into the yes, this is a narrative game and you need to play up to make some things work. This item embodies that. The Quip Lasher. It is a whip that is hardened in a coil. If you make a quip, the whip unhardens and you can attack once. It's 3 attacks, so that's cool. but then hardens again. So every time you want to attack with this weapon, you have to make a quip. I think that's a great weapon that embodies that type of side of what Quest is.
Bard weapon, the whipping.
But yeah, it's definitely a bard weapon. But yeah, like definitely give that to the player that is most comfortable really leaning in and being like, yeah, don't worry, I'm all good. I can definitely bring out some one-liners.
Also, how stereotypical of the bard to carry a whip.
What about you?
Uh, for me, I just in general the way that roles are, like their abilities are very flavorful. It gives the role a very distinct personality, even when hypothetically they do something kind of similar. Like fighter and ranger are hypothetically not that different, and naturalist and ranger are also not hypothetically that different. But naturalist, ranger, and fighter all feel very distinct from each other, as do invoker, wizard, and magician.
Mm, mm. Yeah, no, I can see what you mean. Definitely.
Because like they're all wizard, magician, and invoker are all magical to an extent,
Yeah.
but they all do magic very differently, and it's not just I'm a charisma caster, I'm a wisdom caster, I'm an intelligence caster. Here's my spell list. Here's my spell list. Here's my spell list. It's I have a list of abilities. They are different and unique from the other two types of abilities completely. There's no
Mm.
overlap, but you share the same
Speaking
core
of
mechanics. Oh yeah, go.
speaking of roles, there's a skill tree for each of these learning paths, but they're not all the same amount. Especially in the spy, charisma has 3, determination 4, concealment 5, surveillance 4, stenography 4, infiltration 4, impersonation 1. So when you with your starting character, you get 6 abilities. You can get impersonation, take that one ability, you're all good. It has 3 different things you can use with that single ability, and then you can just entirely just learn like stenography and then start working on concealment. It's not I have everything will be the same amount in each of the skill trees. They're not trying to bloat some things out, but also maybe that leaves a little bit of design space if
It
you want
does.
to make them a little bit more uniform.
But in terms of
What about you?
standouts, I don't really have anything else. I mean, honestly, like the game, most of my standouts either were said during the game section or are in hacking.
Hmm. Um, then I got a couple more I can run off.
Go for it.
So, um, the world profile. So this follows the same idea of the character creator questionnaire. This is the world creator questionnaire. I decided to make a little quick world based off the prompts. I do not have the prompts straight on me, but I will just actually I can just go straight to it now. Build a world. So your story begins blank. A blank. From the blank to the blank, you'll find blank. In this world, magic is blank, danger is blank, and daily life is blank. It's a lot like blank in brackets. People here are hopeful that blank, but blank. And then an adventure hook. So, what I came up with, ignoring the it's a lot like, because I don't know what this is like, um, your story begins in the shadow of the wall, a tinderbox of civil conflict. From the Colosseum at Cram to the Million Lakes in the east, you'll find a brewing revolution. In this world, magic is regulated, danger is otherworldly, and daily life is humble and quiet. People here are hopeful that a new ruler will rise, but war looms on the horizon. Nice and quick, and you can easily pick that apart and go, okay, what does this all mean? I really like that. Nice and quick. And there's a lot of prompts there that you can just go through and go, ooh, I like that. I like that. I was just going all over the place, picking from different sides of the page and I came up with something interesting that I could work with.
Yeah, no, I mean
Uh,
it's such a fantastic set of tables. I really like it.
like one little criticism that I could add, now that you said tables, is
Well, I mean, they're not
you could
tables.
exactly, you
But
could
what's the?
number
Let me
these.
ask you something. What's the benefit of making it a dice roll as opposed to just pick from a list? Like,
Pick
what is detracted from the game? If you're gonna make this a criticism, what does it detract by being
so
not a fucking d20 roll?
so the thing with lists, nothing is lost if you add a number, something is gained because allowing that like total, okay, let me just get a die and see what, instead of me actually making an effort to actually go and pick something from here. And because no, there was definitely some bias where I'm like, actually, no, I don't want that. I'll put something else. So actually just having a number and being like, okay, I can just roll this, I think aids without losing anything.
But if you have a bias because you don't want something and you roll that and you're like, well, fuck that anyways, then you're just picking anyways. You're just picking to roll again.
But that's the thing. Having from the default, having the option to entirely randomize, then having your bias afterwards is a easier way to do the randomization. Because random tables, they're meant to be rolled on and also just picked through as well. This one decided to just do the pick through, uh, and if you added in the roll thing, at least that single d20 could be used for more things.
I mean, that's true. The
Especially
d20 is
since
only used for one thing. You know what though? Actually, I do have a counter to that. Maybe Quest by its design doesn't want you to randomize your adventures and wants you to put more thought into them because let's face it, sometimes random event adventures are kind of like how the hell am I going to connect these two things?
no, that's totally fair. But also, I think this is a way to generate a world, and you're going to have to make things work anyway. So, making a lot of worlds and going, oh yeah, these are cool ideas, and also characters, hell yeah, why not? So yeah, that's another little minor thing. Why not just add some numbers? And especially since the page numbers are faded, you could just make the numbers slightly faded so they don't like stick out too much. But yeah. The last thing, while Quest is, beginner forward and all that, they provide some advanced rules in the back. You can adjust the starting strength by giving, player characters more abilities at the beginning, or, to make long-term play longer and more drawn out. You can, instead of getting an ability every session, every other session, or what Oscar said before, quirks, where you can learn a single ability from a different role, or dual roles. You start with two roles. This is the multi-class for D&D people. That means you can choose from many different abilities from both those roles, but you can only learn up to 25 abilities, and then you have to forget one to learn a new one. Or the totally freeform, no roles, just choose an ability from anything, and you can only learn up to 20 abilities. Um, so I appreciate that they add those in there because it allows for more customization and it allows this game to have a longer lifespan.
It does. It does.
Hmm. But beyond that we've kind of gone over all my standouts already.
Then Hacking Quest.
So yes, this is the part that we talked about before. Um, Bit difficult in terms of like because it's supposed to be it's complete quest. You could definitely add things to it, but not something that I could come up really on the spot. But in terms of things that I would like take from Quest, I like how Quest went with the single resource with adventure points. You use this for your abilities, and you use this for any items that have a fancy ability too. You just spend your adventure points on this. I like that, and I definitely can see that being used for more simple and straightforward games.
Yeah, I mean, adventure points are a pretty nice mechanic, and I mean, it works well for a statless game. It works really well for a statless game, which I'm all about because I recently had a falling out with stats. I fucking hate
And
you, Call of Cthulhu.
fair enough. And the second thing that I had down was the tough choice thing, where or when you roll this, the GM, the guide, the referee offers you two choices. Which one do you want to take as your setback? I like that, and I've seen it before, but that's definitely something that I would, take uh, from Quest as well. What about you? What are your thoughts on like hacking or like stealing or anything else?
Straight up, I would steal this dice mechanic. In terms of a statless dice mechanic, I think it works very well. It gives people a good chance to succeed. I wouldn't put it in every game, but anything where players are meant to be on the higher end of the power spectrum, I would gladly put it towards them. It also is a very good XP free mechanic in terms of leveling up. Um, I could see roll ability trees being, especially with the advanced rule for just unlocking rolls and just making it ability trees. I could see that being expanded on to make a very different feeling game, but as a mechanic, even with AP or without AP, just like here is a tree of abilities built around a theme. Here are the abilities you get in order. I think that could work really well in a lot of different situations.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
No
yeah, no.
money, trade favors for rare goods, or so like the whole no money thing. This is why I didn't really touch on it in standouts because I have a hack thought for it.
Okay.
So instead of money, you either trade favors or rare goods or labor for things that are important, expensive things, or special things. This could work in a lot of situations, but if you wanted to do a game where like players were nobles, like a game where you're playing characters where money isn't really a question, it's about like services, political favors, or like land and vassals and power or influence, special artifacts, because money doesn't matter anymore. A system of like do this for me and I'll do that for you, and it being a variety of different type of favor where it's like you give me this, you find me that, you help me in this way later down the line. That is a really good trade mechanic for things beyond just I want to stay at that really nice inn for tonight.
Hmm. But then even yeah, you don't even need to stay at. You can stay at that inn.
Well, yeah, no. Well, modest dwellings. We're talking like fancy.
Yeah, fair enough.
Buying a condo
But no,
in San
yes,
Francisco. Gotta
the
trade your
bartering
soul.
just the bartering trading system. Yeah, I definitely like that. I've seen it in a couple other things, but I like how straightforward this is. And with the slot focus, yeah, the items that you have on you is your money.
Mm.
If you want to go materialistic in just straight one-to-one trading, and leans into the you're not doing the little coin counting. If you're going dungeon delving, you're not worrying about coins. You're worrying about the fancy gold statues. So yeah, definitely would take that.
So,
I
yeah,
definitely
no,
see a
absolutely.
lot of comparisons, you could say, to Open Legends with the legend points and adventure points, and yes, the fail forward, and with um, money not being an issue, but Open Legends does in a slightly different way with the wealth level stuff. But don't want to get too far into that.
Yeah, no, that we're saving that for the future.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, so and actually, like especially with the limited inventory thing. So remember hacking Knave where you talked about like the contract thing?
yep,
You have 12 slots for things of value, including favors. You need a
yeah.
favor, so you could trade a vassal, an artifact, and so like vassals are something that go into your inventory with like this whole noble thing.
Okay.
And so it's like, okay, so I need to get this favor because the favor goes into one of your 12 slots. Well, I could trade a vassal or I could do something, but I don't have the slots to carry something new, so I want to trade an object. It adds a layer of depth to negotiation
Okay,
gameplay.
yeah, no, I can definitely see that bringing in the object to making my vague things into objects, bringing into quests. Yeah, I can see that working here too, depending on the theme and tone of the game.
Mhm. Uh, then my last thing that I really have to I mean, I like that it's a statless game. I mentioned that. Um, I'm not sure how I would apply that in other games without taking adventure points directly. And the dice mechanic, but I'd be interested to see what I could do, but I don't have any ideas, so I can't expand upon that. But the
Mm.
be whoever you want character creation is really good because alright, so you know how a knave it never says like it says what you are, not who you are a knave, but it doesn't say you're a human, it doesn't say you're an elf or an orc or a dragonborn or what.
Yep.
So with the be whoever you are character creation in Quest, I think you could apply that to a number of games that don't give you ancestry options. You could be humans in Knave. You could be slime people. Knave never fucking says.
Yep.
I think that's the secret. I think Ben Milton was making a game about playing slime dungeon delvers. That's why the Snail Knight is so valid.
Yes. Yes. Totally. Totally.
But jokes aside, I think that this is a better system of character creation. Just in general.
Well,
I mean, I understand tactical games where it's like, I want to be a character that has this ability, but you could just add in buy an ability for your thing. Like, oh, I'm an elf. People notice these things about me. My people are known for this. I come from this place. And also, I can see in the dark. You could just add that
yeah.
in. There's nothing stopping
Yeah.
you.
You can make part of the questionnaire the mechanical uh, thing that you're adding to your character. Yeah. But no, I can definitely see taking the questionnaire for games that it doesn't matter what you are really. You don't need to worry about that. So okay, I can bring in this fully narrative character questionnaire sheet, and 100% this works really well for beginner games. This could be great for convention play and the like. To write these things down, and yeah, this allows you to just reference this back. How would my character play and all that? It's like, well, I can just refer it back to it's like, this is how they walk. And it's like, yeah, with apprehensions. Okay, I can go with that. Flaws and my, what I believe in. Yeah. So a really nice, simple character builder in just the narrative sense.
Do you have anything else to see? That's the thing about hacking Quest, because the most hackable thing you could do for Quest is provide a setting or an adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely for me, it probably like if I want to actually like build upon quest, it'd probably go within the roles type of section.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you might
and
add some
like
custom roles.
add some custom roles, entirely rip out all the roles, and then just start from scratch type of thing. Because I think what the roles are will help define the mechanical part of quests. Because the D20, that's all it is, and then the rolls, that's
Mm-hmm.
the other mechanical juice. So without any knowledge on the fact that you just brought up that there's a sci-fi thing, that's how I could see the sci-fi quest being same D20 stuff, just some sci-fi art of some dude blasting a poor alien across the the starry sky and having some sit down with me, nice calm text, and then sci-fi rolls. So I think that's where the tone and no, the genre and the theming comes from in just the roles and the items. So you can definitely make a very simplified quest game in just having just a couple roles and a couple abilities.
Yeah, no,
So you don't have
you
to
could.
write out a 155-page book.
That's true. You really could. I'm slightly browsing to see because all they said was 2022. I'm slightly browsing to see if Cosmic Quest is out, but it does not appear.
Hmm. But no, beyond that, really, there's a lot to like about Quest. I think it is a great resource for new and old game masters and players to just read through and go, oh, okay, that's definitely a nice way to look at tabletop role-playing games. Even if like you're not like a story game or a more freeform narrative gamer, this is definitely something you can get something from. And the GM guidance definitely has some stuff in there, like, you know, the 3 Cs. I can definitely take that with me in my D&D games that
True.
some D&D games that I run. It's like, yeah, I can easily use that. So yeah, definitely go for that. And yes, I think it does well in providing an easy step into tabletop role-playing games for beginners.
All right. I mean, if that's all from both of us, I believe we're done here. Yes, unless you have something
Yeah,
else.
no.
Well then, thank you for joining us today as we looked at Quest RPG. Join us next time for more indie tabletop discussion and design. I've been Oscar C. Tango, and joining me has been.
I've been Sun. You can find me at SunGone_ on Twitter, Sun on Start Playing Games, and SunGone on itch.io.
And you can find me at Stranded TTRPG on Twitter, Oscar C. Tango on StartPlaying.games, and Stranded Publishing on itch.io. You can find all those links in the description. And remember, don't be afraid to adventure beyond the dragon.